Hey everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the area of composite figures. We talked about the perimeter of composite figures. So you have to remember what a composite figure is. It is two or more shapes that are put together. So this would be a perfect example of a composite figure. It looks like an arrow, but really it's a triangle and a rectangle. So how do we find the area? Well, quite frankly, we could just sit here and count squares. And if we wanted to count squares, that would work. However, what if there's a lot of squares, like, in the hundreds? Do you really want to spend all your time counting? So you're going to learn some shortcuts today to try and help you be able to get through more complicated problems easier. So let's count the full squares. And if I did that, that was 32 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. Next, I'm going to count the half squares. Easy enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which gets me 4 full squares. And I get my answer. If I want to do this one, once again, counting works. Sure does take a long time. And in this one, I get 32 perfect squares. See how you can do that? Channel your inner first grader. However, what if you had a more complicated thing, or you didn't have it on graph paper so it wasn't so easy to count the squares? Like, what if you had to find the area here? Well, let's think about it. What two shapes do you see? A lot of you will say, Mr. Thomas, I see these two shapes. And if you do, that's awesome. Because if you do, you can notice you've got 5 times 5. And 5 times 5 is 25. And in this one, I've got 5 times 2. And you got 10. If I simply add those two together, I get my answer, 35 square meters. And what are we doing? We're counting squares, only we're not being a first grader and counting the squares, we're being a middle schooler and counting the squares. All right, now some people may have said, hey, Mr. Thomas, is there another way to do this? Because that's not the way I saw it. Sure. Here's the other way. What if you saw this big rectangle and this little rectangle? Excuse me? This big rectangle. And if you think about it, this big rectangle was 10 times 5. So that's 50. And what about that little rectangle? Does everyone see it? Remember, that wasn't a part of our original shape, but when we made the big rectangle, you might have been able to see it. All right, and that's 3 times 5. Now remember, in this situation, we are not adding them together because they're not the same. This is the area we want to find. What we're doing is we're taking the big one and we're going to take away the little one. And ever since you've been in first grade, you've realized that takeaways mean subtract. And guess what? 50 minus 15 is also 35 meters squared. So it kind of depends on which way you see it. You can solve it a lot of different ways. Like here's one. Notice this is 4 inches on this side, so this whole entire length is 6 inches. And this entire length is 12 inches, and so this one is 8. All right, here's my question. What do you see? Now granted, there is more than one right way to be able to do this. Some people may say, hey, I see a big giant rectangle, and then I want to subtract out a trapezoid. Some people may see I see a triangle, I see a square, and then I see a rectangle. Cool, this is what I saw. See the big rectangle? That's 4 times 12, which is 48. And then I see this triangle. And since this side is 4 and this side is 6, then this side is 2. And since this is 8 and this is 12, then that side is 4. If I want to find out the area of a triangle, 1/2 base times height. And I end up getting 4 inches squared. 52 inches squared total. You guys, try this one. Hint, it's a rectangle and a half a circle. Okay, I'm back. Now the rectangle is probably pretty easy. The half a circle, just remember, to find the area, you have to divide whatever the area of the whole circle is, divided by 2. So 28.26, half of that would be 14.13. And now just add those together. and you get 62.13 inches squared. Okay? All right. Have fun with your homework, and if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask your teacher. See you.